The 1990s were Nickelodeon's golden age, a time when kids' imaginations exploded onto the screen in ways never seen before. But here's the twist. Not every show survived the passage of time. Some were pulled too soon, censored into oblivion, or simply forgotten. What happened to these strange, daring, and sometimes controversial cartoons? Tonight, we dig up 17 Nickelodeon cartoons you probably forgot existed. The Brothers Flub, 1999. Once pitched as Nickelodeon's next big space comedy, The Brothers Flub quickly became an oddity. It followed two alien brothers working as intergalactic couriers, zipping through strange planets with bizarre customers. The premise was bold. Ren and Stimpy meet Star Trek, but it never landed with audiences. Behind the scenes, Nickelodeon executives reportedly panicked when parents complained about the grotesque humor and slapstick violence. Production problems mounted as animators struggled to balance wacky sci-fi with kid-friendly comedy. Critics dismissed it as loud and unfocused, and its short run was buried under Nickelodeon's bigger hits like SpongeBob SquarePants. Unlike its rivals, no reruns or DVDs ever came. Today, The Brothers Flub survives only in scattered VHS recordings, whispered about in fan forums as a lost Nickelodeon experiment. It serves as a haunting reminder. Not every idea from Nickelodeon's golden era was destined to become a household name. Sniz and Fondue, 1995. You might remember Sniz and Fondue as recurring shorts on K-Blam, Nickelodeon's anthology series. But few recall that the network once planned to give the wacky lizard brothers their very own full series. The shorts were notorious for chaotic animation and absurd plots, often described as Nickelodeon's attempt to chase Ren and Stimpy's surreal madness. Yet production issues plagued it. Animators clashed over direction, and Nickelodeon executives grew nervous about the show's edgy humor. When test audiences complained it was too hyper and confusing, the spin-off was canceled before launch. All that remains are the shorts scattered across Kablam, reruns. Over time, Sniz and Fondue became a cult curiosity, a glimpse into the road not taken. Fans often wonder, had Nickelodeon been braver? Would this have been the network's next great cartoon duo? Instead, it's remembered only in fragments, a lost chapter of Nickelodeon's cartoon experiments. Cat Dog, 1998. At first glance, Cat Dog was one of Nickelodeon's boldest ideas. A conjoined cat and dog struggling to survive in a world that rejected them. It was marketed as bizarre, yet lovable, and kids tuned in out of sheer curiosity. But the darker undertones couldn't be ignored. Episodes frequently touched on bullying, loneliness, and identity crises. Some parents complained it was unsettling, and critics argued the humor often leaned cruel rather than funny. Behind the curtain, animators struggled with storylines. How do you write about two creatures literally stuck together without running out of ideas? Nickelodeon pushed it hard, but quietly lost faith as ratings slipped. Though it ran for 4 seasons, Cat Dog never achieved the lasting legacy of SpongeBob or Hey Arnold. Instead, it faded into half-remembered VHS tapes. Today, Cat Dog is both fascinating and tragic, a daring premise trapped in Nickelodeon's own identity crisis. K-Blam, 1996. K-Blam was Nickelodeon's strangest experiment, a variety show disguised as a cartoon. Hosted by Henry and June, 2 animated characters who cracked jokes between segments, it served as a launchpad for weird shorts like Action League Now, Prometheus and Bob, and Life with Loopy. At first, it was seen as daring, a network pushing the boundaries of children's television by blending claymation, stop-motion, and traditional animation. But controversy soon followed. Parents complained that Action League Now was too violent, with plastic superheroes blowing each other up every week. Others felt Prometheus and Bob was too bizarre, relying on slapstick humor that bordered on disturbing. Behind the scenes, Nickelodeon executives grew nervous about its fragmented style. Ratings fluctuated, and the budget for multiple animation studios quickly spiraled out of control. Plans for a theatrical spin-off of Action League Now were scrapped, and the show quietly ended after 4 seasons. Oh yeah! Cartoons, 1998. Before Fairly Odd Parents or Chalk Zone, there was, oh yeah, Cartoons. This anthology series showcased dozens of shorts from up-and-coming animators, many of which were test pilots for future Nickelodeon hits. On paper, it was a genius idea. Give creators freedom, see which ideas stick. But the show quickly drew mixed reactions. Parents found some shorts too edgy, even disturbing. Critics complained about inconsistent quality. One episode could be charming, while the next felt like an unpolished student project. Nickelodeon executives worried that the scattershot approach was confusing younger viewers. Behind the scenes, tensions brewed as animators competed for the coveted full-series pickup. Stories emerged of studios working on shoestring budgets, desperate to impress Nickelodeon's execs. When only a handful of shorts got greenlit, many creators felt crushed, and their work disappeared forever. The show was quietly phased out by 2001, overshadowed by the juggernauts it spawned. While Fairly Odd Parents became legendary, most other shorts vanished, never to be rerun. For fans, oh yeah, Cartoons feels like an unfinished dream. It was both a launch pad and a graveyard, giving us beloved classics while burying dozens of forgotten gems. Today, it stands as proof of Nickelodeon's willingness to experiment, but also its ruthless decision-making. Rocket Power, 1999. When Rocket Power premiered, Nickelodeon pitched it as the cool kid cartoon of the new millennium. Surfboards, rollerblades, BMX bikes, this was extreme sports at its peak. The show followed Otto, Reggie, Twister, and Sam as they navigated competitions, friendships, and the endless sun of ocean shores. It became popular at first, but critics were skeptical. Many felt it was less heartfelt than Hey Arnold, or Doug and more of a product, an attempt to cash in on the X Games craze. Parents complained about the slang-heavy dialogue, calling it gibberish. Some even argued it encouraged reckless behavior in kids trying to copy stunts. Behind the scenes, animators reportedly felt constrained by Nickelodeon's push to keep the show trendy. Storylines became repetitive, focused more on sports jargon than emotional depth. By the early 2000s, interest waned, and Nickelodeon let the series fade. Today, Rocket Power rarely gets reruns, overshadowed by its more timeless peers. Yet, for those who grew up with it, the show represents a lost moment in time when Nickelodeon desperately tried to stay cool with a generation hooked on skate culture. Its legacy is bittersweet, remembered fondly but largely abandoned in the vaults. My Life as a Teenage Robot, 1999 pilot, 2003 series. Few remember that My Life as a Teenage Robot actually began as a 1999 pilot on Oh Yeah, Cartoons. It told the story of XJ9, Jenny, a robot built to protect the Earth while desperately trying to live like a normal teenager. The premise was clever, but Nickelodeon hesitated. Some executives reportedly worried it skewed too sci-fi and would confuse young viewers. It took years before the series was greenlit, finally premiering in 2003. When it aired, fans loved its retro-futuristic art style, but it struggled with ratings. Parents raised concerns about darker themes of isolation and identity, while critics claimed it was too mature for Nickelodeon's core audience. Behind the scenes, budget struggles and low merchandise sales hurt its chances of survival. By 2009, it was quietly shelved, its final episodes barely promoted. Only years later did fans rediscover it online, calling it one of Nickelodeon's most underrated shows. The story of My Life as a Teenage Robot is tragic. A cartoon too ahead of its time, buried by a network afraid to take risks. Today, it lives on in fan petitions and nostalgia threads, proof that forgotten shows sometimes deserve a second chance. The Angry Beavers, 1997. When The Angry Beavers premiered, it looked like Nickelodeon's next comedy hit. Norbert and Daggett, two bachelor beavers, lived alone in the woods, bickering like roommates. Its fast-paced jokes, fourth wall breaks, and surreal humor made it an instant fan favorite. But here's the twist. Controversy doomed it. In 2001, after 4 seasons, the creators wrote a final episode titled Bye Bye Beavers, in which Norbert and Daggett discover their cartoon characters whose show is ending. Nickelodeon executives panicked. Breaking the fourth wall about cancellation was considered too self-aware and depressing for children. The finale was banned from airing, leaving the series unresolved. Behind the scenes, tensions brewed between animators and executives over tone. Some episodes leaned dark, with existential jokes critics called too smart for kids. Others featured slapstick violence that worried parents. Despite strong fan support, Nickelodeon shelved reruns and axed its ending. Over time, The Angry Beavers developed cult status. Fans still circulate the unaired finale online, treating it as a piece of forbidden Nickelodeon history. Its legacy is haunting, a show that dared to be clever but was punished for being too different. The story of The Angry Beavers is less about failure and more about censorship, a cartoon silenced for speaking its own truth. Doug, 1991-1994, Nickelodeon era. Doug Funny. His journal, Skeeter Valentine, and Patty Mayonnaise. Few kids of the 90s forget Doug. But what many forget is how abruptly Nickelodeon let it go. Launched in 1991 as one of the original Nicktoons, it quickly became beloved for its slice-of-life storytelling. Unlike wacky peers, Doug was soft-spoken, relatable, even tender. Yet Nickelodeon didn't own Doug. The show was created by Jim Jinkins and produced by Jumbo Pictures. By 1994, when Disney offered to buy the rights, Nickelodeon let it slip away. The controversy? Many animators argued Nickelodeon gave up too easily, fearing Doug was too quiet compared to louder hits like Rugrats. When Disney relaunched Doug in 1996 on ABC, fans noticed changes, new voices, redesigned characters, and a different tone. Many complained it lost its innocence. Nickelodeon's version became overshadowed, rarely rerun, and eventually buried. Behind the scenes, bitter feelings lingered. Fans accused Nickelodeon of abandoning one of its most heartfelt shows. The legacy of Doug is tragic. Once a cornerstone of Nickelodeon's golden era, now half forgotten, its memory split between two competing versions. The irony? Nickelodeon, a network built on quirky chaos, may have been too impatient to value a gentle cartoon that dared to be ordinary. Rocko's Modern Life, 1993. Few shows captured Nickelodeon's edgy side like Rocko's Modern Life. At first glance, it was a zany comedy about Rocko the Wallaby navigating suburban America. But beneath the slapstick, it tackled everything from consumerism to depression. Parents' groups quickly noticed. Complaints poured in about risque jokes, dark themes, and grotesque humor. Rumors spread that some episodes were censored or altered mid-broadcast. In truth, several episodes were edited, like one featuring a phone sex hotline gag and another poking fun at consumer debt. Behind the scenes, Nickelodeon was torn. Animators saw Rocko as groundbreaking satire, while executives worried it was too adult. Ratings were steady, but controversy kept the network uneasy. By 1996, after 4 seasons, the show ended, not canceled outright, but quietly retired. Its aftermath was unusual. Though forgotten for years, fans resurrected its reputation online, calling it a precursor to SpongeBob SquarePants, also created by Steven Hillenburg, a former Rocko staffer. In 2019, Netflix revived it, with Static Cling, proving the series had never truly died. Still, the original Nickelodeon run remains shrouded in controversy. For many, Rocco's modern life represents the thin line Nickelodeon walked in the 90s, between daring satire and parental outrage. It's a cartoon that never truly fit in, and that's exactly why it mattered. Real Monsters, 1994. When Real Monsters debuted, Nickelodeon leaned into its reputation for weirdness. 3 young monsters, Icky, Oblina, and Crumb, trained in an underground school to frighten humans. Its grotesque art style, courtesy of Klasky Csupo, the same studio behind Rugrats, set it apart instantly. But its darkness stirred controversy. Parents complained the show was too frightening, with grotesque designs and episodes that leaned into horror themes. Critics accused it of encouraging nightmares rather than laughs. Nickelodeon executives reportedly wrestled with censorship, toning down certain too grotesque designs and trimming darker jokes before air. Behind the scenes, animators loved the creative freedom, but deadlines were brutal. Some claimed the show struggled to find its audience, too scary for younger kids, too silly for teens. Ratings eventually slipped, and after 4 seasons, it was shelved in 1997. Its legacy, however, endures in whispers. Fans recall it as Nickelodeon's boldest attempt at horror for kids, a series that dared to make childhood fears both comical and grotesque. Though overshadowed by Rugrats and Hey Arnold, Real Monsters remains a cult gem. Today, it symbolizes a Nickelodeon unafraid to flirt with the terrifying, even if it meant scaring off some of its audience. The Wild Thornberrys, 1998. On paper, the Wild Thornberrys had everything: a family of nature documentarians, a girl who could talk to animals, and breathtaking global adventures. It was Nickelodeon's attempt to blend education with entertainment, teaching kids about wildlife while serving up slapstick comedy. At first, it was hailed as groundbreaking, but criticism soon emerged. Some parents argued the show's humor undercut its educational value, while critics accused it of being preachy. Rumors spread that Nickelodeon executives were divided. Some pushed it as a prestige project, others dismissed it as National Geographic for kids. Behind the scenes, the animation was grueling. The show's ambitious scope required unique backgrounds for every exotic location, straining animators and budgets. Voice actress Lacey Chabert reportedly recorded under demanding schedules, while Tim Curry's legendary performance as Nigel often overshadowed the rest of the cast. Though it spawned movies and crossover specials, by 2004, the Wild Thornberrys had faded, overshadowed by the unstoppable rise of SpongeBob. Today, it lingers in nostalgia threads but rarely resurfaces in mainstream conversation. Its legacy? A bold attempt to blend conservation with comedy, now remembered as both pioneering and strangely forgotten. The Wild Thornberrys was Nickelodeon's globe-trotting risk, one that ultimately got lost in the shuffle of louder, zanier cartoons. As Told by Ginger, 2000, pilot in 1998. Though it technically hit full stride in 2000, As Told by Ginger began in Nickelodeon's late 90s testing phase. It broke every rule of kids' cartoons. Instead of zany antics, it offered serialized storytelling about Ginger Foutley, a shy middle schooler navigating adolescence, identity, and heartbreak. Characters even changed clothes, unheard of in cartoons at the time. Critics praised its maturity, but Nickelodeon struggled to market it. Parents were divided. Some applauded its honesty, while others argued it was too heavy. Storylines touched on bullying, family struggles, and even death, subjects Nickelodeon usually avoided. Executives feared it alienated kids expecting slapstick comedy. Behind the scenes, writers pushed boundaries while facing pressure from executives to lighten up. The tension showed, with uneven scheduling and poor promotion hurting ratings. By the time it ended in 2006, many episodes hadn't even aired in the U.S. until years later. Today, As Told by Ginger is remembered as Nickelodeon's most underrated gem. Fans argue it paved the way for shows like Steven Universe and Avatar, The Last Airbender, blending humor with raw emotion, Yet its forgotten status underscores Nickelodeon's fear of straying too far from formula. It wasn't just a cartoon. It was a mirror for growing up, hidden in plain sight. Cablum's Prometheus and Bob, 1996-1999. Among the strangest shorts Nickelodeon ever aired, Prometheus and Bob stood out as surreal even in the anything-goes world of Cablum. The premise was simple but bizarre. An alien named Prometheus tried to teach a dim-witted caveman, Bob, how to survive. Every lesson, from cooking to building fire, ended in slapstick chaos. Viewers either loved it or didn't understand it at all. Parents worried its primitive violence was too crude, while critics wondered if kids would grasp the satire. Behind the scenes, the stop-motion format was time-consuming and costly, leaving animators scrambling to meet Nickelodeon's deadlines. Executives flirted with giving it a full series, but nerves over its dark, slow humor kept it confined to shorts. By 1999, it vanished with Cablum, its strange brilliance buried in the vaults. Today, fans treat Prometheus and Bob as underground gold. Bootleg recordings circulate online, and discussions hail it as Nickelodeon's most misunderstood experiment. Its legacy is eerie, a show that dared to explore absurdity, but was silenced before it had the chance to evolve. Hey, Arnold, 1996. At first, Hey Arnold seemed like another goofy kids show, a football-headed boy navigating city life. But beneath the quirky animation was something radical. The show tackled poverty, immigration, broken families, and urban struggle. Subjects rarely addressed in children's television. Kids connected with Arnold's kindness, but controversy followed. Some parents complained it was too adult, with episodes about depression, addiction, and loneliness. Censors worried about pushing boundaries, and several episodes faced heavy edits. Behind the scenes, creator Craig Bartlett fought to keep his vision intact, clashing with executives who wanted more humor and less realism. Voice actors recalled the demanding scripts and late-night rewrites to balance Nickelodeon's demands with Bartlett's storytelling. Despite the challenges, Hey Arnold became iconic. Yet its finale, The Jungle Movie, was shelved for years, leaving fans heartbroken. When it finally aired in 2017, it revealed just how deeply the show had resonated with an entire generation. Still, Hey Arnold's bold honesty cost it wider longevity. Nickelodeon was nervous about its maturity, and by the early 2000s, it was phased out in favor of safer comedies. Its legacy? A haunting reminder that children's stories can be more profound than anyone expects. Rugrats, 1991-1994, original run. It may sound shocking, but Nickelodeon nearly buried Rugrats. Though it would go on to become one of the network's biggest franchises, its original run between 1991 and 1994 was shaky. Critics called it oddly unsettling, with its surreal animation style and babies navigating bizarre adventures. Parents complained about its gross humor and offbeat tone. Rumors swirled about episodes being censored, with storylines dealing with topics like parental neglect or childhood fears cut for being too real. Behind the curtain, Klasky Supo struggled with budget cuts, and production halted after the first 3 seasons. For nearly 2 years, Rugrats disappeared from Nickelodeon's schedule. Many assumed it was dead, just another experiment gone wrong. But then reruns exploded in popularity. Ratings soared, and merchandise sales convinced Nickelodeon to revive it in 1996. From that point on, Rugrats became legendary, spawning movies, spin-offs, and decades of reruns. But its near death in the early 90s remains forgotten. The truth? Rugrats was nearly lost to obscurity, erased before it became Nickelodeon's crown jewel. Its story reminds us how fragile success was in Nickelodeon's golden age. A few complaints, a nervous executive, and a show could vanish.